Well, good afternoon, boys and girls. Welcome back to another episode of Traplines and Inlines. In this episode, we're going to be putting the roof on the chicken coop. We're going to be installing drip edge using a felt paper underlayment and shingling the entire roof with 3-tab shingles, which we will also use for our starter strip and ridge cap shingles. So let's get at her, boys. So we're going to start off our roof here with by installing our drip edge. This is what they call it's like the T-shaped drip edge. It's what I've kind of always used there. It always works well, and then you slide your fascia up on underneath it here. So you just slide it right on, and this is where it's nice to have nice straight edges on your roof. And we're just starting off by putting this stuff on the eaves, and just line it up to the edges here, and we'll attach it here just using roofing nails, these little buggers, making sure everything's good and straight. And we attach this every 8 to 10 inches there all the way along. But like I said, we'll do this stuff on the eave first and then worry about the fascia end later on the gable end. Let's get out. You can see here now, I've got this space left over here. So I cut a sheet a couple inches longer than I needed to. And then you can see I'm just overlapping it a couple inches here. Okay, there is our drip edge installed. So now we're just installing our roofing felt paper. I don't particularly enjoy this part of the job, and I don't think anyone does. So we'll show you what I'm doing here. Okay, I've got a couple sheets here and one over there, but it's gonna take 5 sheets to do this roof. So I take one, I cut it approximately to length, give myself a little extra, and then I trim it right flush here on the edge, and then I put another one over top, and I overlap it at least like I usually go about 5-6 inches. And when I line it up with one of these existing lines on the previous sheet, and it keeps all the lines nice and straight, which helps me keep my shingle straight. So I try and keep this stuff as nice and straight and snug as I can. You can see mine's not perfect, but it helps keep your shingles nice and straight, and they're not wavy that way. And I roll that out nice and flat on the bottom, lining it up with the drip edge there, and then just nail the bottom of that one and the sides, and then I nail the bottom of this one, which nails the top of the previous sheet. Now you start at the bottom, work your way up, pretty standard. So we'll put one sheet here, another sheet here, and then one right on the center, which will overlap quite a bit. You can see how much overlap we're gonna have here, which is completely fine. Okay, so I usually just roll it out, the felt paper out in front of the structure, and give myself a good chunk extra, because there's no worse feeling than getting up there and, oh Jesus, what am I doing? Getting up there with a sheet that's too short. And I use a hook blade for all my cutting on this here roofing, which I really like to use. So we'll roll this up and get up on the roof here. Okay, you can see I've ripped this here a bit, no big deal. So I'll try and get that relatively in line there, and I'll pick one side to line up this here on. So I need a little bit more, so I'll line that line up there. Tack this in. You can see here I'm just using roofing nails to hold this felt paper in. It isn't ideal. There's like roofing staples and a whole bunch of and like proper nails that seal up a little bit better, but I don't have any of them, and I would prefer to use these over slap staples, which seem to always leave a hole which could leak, but I'm not too concerned about that at all. So we'll roll this out right on top of the roof. Okay, you can see where I'm at. Line this up to the same place. You can see I've given myself way too much extra here. Way she goes. You know, try and pull this decently snug, and we'll attach this here. Now we'll fold this right over the other side. Okay, now we'll pull this over the ridge as good and snug as we can. Just get it tacked down here. I don't put a whole bunch of nails through these, just enough so I can run around here without worrying about it slipping off. Fuck, I'm out of nails. Okay, so now I'm just gonna get these sides pulled down good and snug, and just get it tacked to the point where it'll hold there nice while I'm walking over it, because all of my roofing nails are gonna hold this in place, and I won't be nailing anything into the ridge here. So now we're just at the end. And I like to attach the ends up pretty good, this end. And I'll just trim this right up flush with the fascia board as good as I can, and then I'll put my drip edge on the side on top of that. Working on the drip edge on the fascia end here, on the gable end, putting it on the fascia board. So I'm lining, this stuff goes on top of my paper, and I'm just lining it up so that it's flush with the drip edge I've put on the end. You could bed in that corner around, but I haven't. So now what I'm doing here kind of thing is I'm just gonna mark where the peak of my ridge is here. And I forgot my pencil, so that'll have to do. So I've marked where the peak of my ridge is gonna be here, and now I'm just gonna kind of cut a V into this in no real particular fashion. So with that slot I've cut in no particular fashion, now I can bend that drip edge over the ridge. So we'll get this put on. Do keep in mind I'm no professional roofer by any means, but I've put on a couple roofs and I don't think any of them are leaking yet, so. So we'll get that settled. Just check where I'm at there. There, so now I've got her so it's fit over the ridge. You can see I've got that. You can see my fascia board is far from perfect here. And now I'll just get this one nailed into place here. Got that cut clean there now. Now I'll slide it underneath. It just makes logical sense for me to have that sheet underneath. So now we're just building our starter strip shingles out of our 3-tab. These are a simple black 3-tab shingle here. Same ones I used on the cabin. And I really like using 3-tabs for these small projects, because you can, like I said, use them to make your starter strips and your ridge cap, and it's cheap that way. So I just take my hook blade here and I just cut right above the tar strip, just right close to the tar strip there. You're cutting off the tabs, and you know, like, to do a small project like this and buy the individual starter cap and ridge cap shingles, it becomes it becomes more expensive than just using these 3-tab shingles. So, but on our first one here, we're gonna take about 6 inches or so off. So that away, I should cut that a little straighter. So that away, when we put that on and then put our shingle over top, our joint isn't gonna be in the same place. Otherwise, if we put that, we're gonna have our joints at the same place and a weak spot right there in our roof. So let's start putting these shingles up. Okay, just starting on my starter strip shingles here. And I've started with my short one. And I will use my short one. And I will start on this side with 3-tab shingles there. So I'm making sure that this tar strip is down on the bottom. So that way the tabs of our next shingle will stick to it. And like I said, lining it up flush with the edges of our drip edge. And I'm just gonna nail this right at the top. Four nails per starter will be plenty. Sliding off this fucking roof. And then we'll start using our longer strips. And then we'll start using our longer strips here, lining up the bottom edge. And putting these nails high so they're not in the rain slots of the 3 tabs. So I'll show you here how I put these shingles on. Start off on one side, making sure, right, like our starter strip intersection is here. We do not want this to be the same as their first strip of shingles or it's going to be buggered. So I usually overlap them about 1/2 inch out the front and side. So I got that here. So just get this one started. And okay, so there's a lot of different opinions on this. Some guys like to nail into the tar strip, some tell you above, to each their own. I usually go about 1 inch above, you can see here. So that way I'm only nailing through 1 shingle as opposed to 2 if I was on that tar strip. But like I said, to each their own. So now we'll get another one going here. I've actually already got the other side all done, so that's good. But I'm gonna be fighting the daylight here today. There's no doubt. And you want to put 4 nails per shingle. I usually go 1 on the end, 1 above. Oh fuck, I can't reach that. 1 above each rain slot. When you put them here, you don't end up like, okay, I'll demonstrate here. Okay, so I put the nails on the edges and right above the rain slots. That way when you put your next shingle over top, they're not exposed. If you put them somewhere silly like in the center, they'll be exposed. Gonna have problems. So this next one, you offset them 6 inches so the rain slot is directly in the center between all the ones on the previous shingle there. So we'll get this set up here. I usually do quite a bit of eyeballing. So we'll, oh shoot, I'm doing terrible here. So trim this one up, line it up with the previous one. And now when you're putting these shingles, you want the bottom edge to be flush with the rain slots here. So I try and get her good there. And your first ones are incredibly important because if you get them crooked, the whole work's gonna be crooked. And I also use the lines on this paper, not quite to their full advantage, but I use them to help keep my rows straight. And we'll just keep offsetting them 6 inches. So on the second one, it's going to be 12 inches, which is right at this rain slot. So if I just take here and cut out that rain slot, then it slides into place beautifully. And I'm not fast at all. Huh. And we'll save all the scraps from these ones here, and then we'll use them to finish off the other side once we get there. Fuck. I try and keep my cuts as straight as possible, but it's a bit of a pain. So you see now every second shingle, all the rain slots will line up, and we'll just keep staggering them, and then we got rows to just, and then once you get set up, you really rip, eh? Okay, once you get a whole bunch of rows going, you can really rip. But I want to show you something very important. So you can see here, I came with this shingle and I've bent it over the ridge on this previous side when I did this side. And you can see I had to nail lower because like right here is the ridge. You can't nail into the ridge here, eh? So I nailed lower, which is fine because our ridge cap shingles are gonna cover it. So I'll just ginch down here quick and I'll bring up a prop. So you kind of got to keep going until one of these, your ridge cap is going to cover the whole spot. So I've taken this one, bent it over, and now you can see like this one, that's not enough. I need that tar strip covered up here by this shingle here. So I've bent this one over, nailed it to the other side, and now I've taken this side and bent it over as well. So that's when you know to stop, is when you can cover it with your ridge cap. So I got an incredible amount to do in a short period of time. Okay, one thing I forgot to mention earlier is you see these beads here, that's tar, eh? So when the sun hits that and warms it up, which I don't even know, like it's pretty late in the year here, if these will even get fully activated here before the spring, but it holds the tabs down. That's why on these starter strips it's so crucial, the orientation of them. I nailed the starter strip up top. I guess I could have nailed it lower, but whatever, it'll be fine. But that's why the orientation is so important, because it holds those flap downs so the wind doesn't blow them up. If you head that backwards, it should be, and that's what'll peel your shingles off, eh? So let's get at her, trying to finish up here. Okay, when you're closed, fucking wolves are back. Oh no, just a coyote. Shit. I was talking, didn't really hear it that good. Just a coyote for sure. Where's my dog though? Cougar, my boy, where are you? God damn it. Come here. Oh, there you are. You've been here the whole time. Sorry, bud. But when you're closing up the ends, like you can see, this is a great time to use up all that scrap that you picked up from the other side there. And then it saves you a lot of material that way. So that's what I try and do. And we'll use up some scrap on the ridge cap. Let's get to that here right away. Okay, here's how everything's looking before we put the ridge cap on. I want to give you a good view of everything here, because by the time we get a ridge cap on, it might be too dark to show you anything, but everything's turning out real nice, looking real good. You know, it'll take a good day or two of good sun and heat to really sink all the tabs down nice into the tar paper, but I love how it looks. 3-tab shingles, they're so underrated. They're bold, they're simple. All these fancy shingles, they're not for me. Okay, I'll show you quick how to make the ridge cap shingles out of a 3-tab shingle. So you take and cut from the tabs up. So you're left with 3 pieces. Now this is how it's gonna go over. So this is how it's gonna sit, and I put the tab side out, and that's what I leave exposed. But you see, if you just bend it like this, it doesn't quite bend quite right. So what I do, and what most guys do, is you just kind of cut these angled slots into the shingle like this, and then that way it just bends so much nicer. So but now, like, you can get 3 of them out of a 3-tab shingle, so it doesn't take many shingles. But it's a great time to burn up a lot of scrap that's accumulated throughout this project, eh? So I'll make all my scrap into ridge cap shingles and then see where I'm at. So we'll turn you on here when we're putting them on. Okay, hope you can see half decent here. But we're gonna start on these ridge cap shingles here. That's exactly how they're gonna sit, is right like this, eh? So we'll line that one up and try and get it as well centered as possible, and then we'll nail it in. Ideally, I should have a little bit longer nails for this, but you know, I'm not in a terribly high wind area, so I should be all right. And I'm putting 4 in here. See, that one didn't hit anything. I'm putting 4 per ridge cap on here, which is overkill, but should hold up. So now you see I've nailed behind the tar line, and then I'll put this one just so it goes a little bit past that said tar line. And you can see, like, the nails I had put in here, like this one and all them ones, covered right up. So that's dandy. But yeah, I don't want to nail this right at the top or I'd have problems. So I try and get her good and then bend her over. If you're worried about this being perfectly straight and whatnot, you could snap chalk line or do something like that to line them up just perfect. But you know, like, you're doing such a small roof like this, and it's way up in the sky, that you know, you would have to be incredibly out to lunch for your ridge cap line to look crooked. So we'll keep going here all the way down. We'll turn you on when we get to the other end. Okay, you see where I'm at here now. I'm just gonna trim that. So I've trimmed that flush. Now I've just trimmed a piece to sit right on top of there, nice and flush, and cover up the tar strip and everything. And that'll look good like that. I'm sure there's a fancy way to do it, but always worked for me. Okay, so our roof is looking just dandy here, guys. Just awesome. It's getting late here, so the lighting's bad. I'm sorry about that, but you can see how my ridge cap looks there. It turned out nice, good and straight, but you know, same story with that too, right? Like, it'll take time for that tar strip to activate and properly bond the shingles together, so it'll look maybe just a tad funny for a couple days there, maybe till the spring shit. So yeah, like, you know, the roof's looking pretty good there. There's no waviness to it or anything. It's got good coverage, which is the most important thing. You know, like, might not be the prettiest roof in the entire history of roofing, but it'll serve its purpose. I'll show you down from below here. Okay, so you can see how nice and even I got that overhang there on the side. I can never seem to get that quite as nice on the sides when I have to cut it. I can never just quite get those shingles cut perfectly. But up into my truck box here. But you can see there, it's turned out pretty nice. I bent up quite a few of those tabs running around on there, but it's looking pretty darn good. What's up, dog? And you know, like, that was a pretty darn good day's work for me. You know, like, I'm very slow with the roofing. For any master buddy guy roofer there with his nail gun and whatnot, he'd get that done no problem. I'm not nearly as quick. I hope you can see all the parts of my roof there pretty good. We're in the middle of the bush, so it's tough to show you, but you know, it's looking real nice. And oh shit, but you know, like, I'm happy with how everything turned out. You know, and it'll serve its purpose there for sure. So yeah, like I said, the line's just dog shit here, guys. Sorry about that, but hope you can see it all right there. In the next episode, we'll be putting up the we'll be doing the insulation, vapor barrier, and interior plywood, build the door, and then get those little bastards moved out here pretty quick. But you can see, okay, I'll show you something here. For the guys that have been following along the build there, you can see I added a fascia board, which is essentially just 2 rafters on each side, and it's lined up to the edge there. And I've kind of built a redneck bird box here. It's just something quick and simple. When I was in a hurry there, did that today too, just to cover that area up. You know, I didn't put it on camera because, you know, it's not really quite the proper way to build a bird box, I don't think, but you know, for this, it'll serve its purpose just fine. Like, this is a chicken coop. So anyway, guys, me and the dog gotta get this mess cleaned up and head for home there, bud. So we'll talk to you guys another day.